This is my audience. God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him. These words were said by the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche in 1882. This quote is over 130 years old. It describes and exemplifies the very real problem we've been facing and are currently facing in our world today. I would ask each one of you a question. What direction is our world taking? Is it towards the path of peace and goodwill toward all men? Or is it the path of non-existent morals and humanistic ideals? We have all felt the effects of the decline in our society's morals, whether it be the shootings in Aurora, Colorado, or Newtown, Connecticut, whether it be the practice of human trafficking, which is estimated by the Department of Justice that 1 in every 4 women trafficked in the U.S. go through Houston. Whether it be the crime of prostitution, which has increased dramatically since the 1980s. Whatever the crime, you and I have become so calloused and numb to the things that are happening every day without a word being said in opposition. I believe the only way to turn this around, to turn this country around, is to promote biblical morals and beliefs once again in our schools and our government. On June 25th, 1962, there was a case that was decided by the Supreme Court. The case of Engel v. Vitale. This case set the precedent that children who previously said a daily short prayer, which was mandated by the school, suddenly discovered that the prayer they recited every day was now illegal. In a single day, 39 million children and teenagers were suddenly forbidden to do what their predecessors had been doing since the dawn of our great nation. Since 1963, children and teenagers have been ever so slowly losing the morals and the things that they have been taught. The Engels v. Vitale case has affected our schools dramatically. Since 1963, in a report by David Barton, pregnancies in girls aged between 15 and 19 increased 187% in the 15 years following 1963. For younger girls aged 10 to 14, pregnancies are up 553% in the years after 1963. What has caused exactly what has caused this downward spiral? The Engels v. Vitale case had nothing to do with family, but even so, divorces in the 15 years before 1963 were on the decline. After 1963, they increased 300% every year for the next 15 years. I could go on, but I believe that all of this simply illustrates the importance of biblical values in our society and our schools in particular. Another reason for the slow decay of morals in our society is the absence of God in our government. Theodore Roosevelt said it best when he said, "A thorough knowledge of the Bible is better than any college education." This was a president that believed in the authority of the Bible and the absolute authority of God in government. Ronald Reagan said in 1984, "If we ever forget that we are a nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under." These words ring true, especially considering how our nation is slowly turning away from God, using the excuse of the separation of church and state. The truth is, the Constitution never even mentions a separation of church and state. That phrase was used in a letter from Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Baptists in 1801, promising them that should their legislature should make no law respecting religions or prohibiting the freedom and exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between the church and the state. In other words, Thomas Jefferson was promising that their religion would not be interfered with by the government of that time, and that there would be a wall of separation guarding the church from the government. The problem comes when people take Jefferson's words out of their original meaning and attempt to say that the separation of church and state is to keep the church out of government. This is untrue. This is not what the letter meant by any means. Individuals now use the separation of church and state excuse in just about every incident concerning government and religion, including taking down the 10 Commandments from courthouses, outlawing nativity scenes from public places, and keeping Christian students from performing a valedictorian prayer in public school settings. I honestly do not believe that there is any quick solution to the problems affecting and afflicting our country. For 2 centuries, we were known as one nation under God. Now we are looked at as imperialistic Westerners who have relapsed into moral and spiritual anarchy. The only action, the only solution to our country's problems is a slow reinsertion of biblical principles and godly authority into our everyday lives. Our nation's motto for now is "In God We Trust." Who knows how long that will last in our current state of atheistic ideology. In conclusion, I believe one of the greatest problems assaulting our nation is a lack of spiritual and moral guidance. Nietzsche was correct in saying that we have killed God, perhaps not literally, but figuratively. We have discarded God from nearly every aspect of our lives, and now we're paying the price through crime and absolute immorality. I believe the only action and solution we have is to reinsert biblical principles into the way we go about our lives. Finally, what we need, perhaps, is a resurrection of God. A rediscovery of a God who cares and loves, and a God who is real and tangible. A God who, through His Word, the Bible, has given us codes and statutes on how to live our lives and be successful. Perhaps Chief Justice John Jay said it best when he said, "The Bible is the best of all books, for it is the Word of God and teaches us the way to be happy in this world and in the next. Continue, therefore, to read it and to regulate your life by its precepts."